They thought I was broke. The struggling artist. The one who never made it. They laughed when I couldn't make it to family trips, whispered about how embarrassing my life was. What they didn't know is that while they were busy judging me, I was quietly building something far bigger than their entire world. And the day they finally found out, they couldn't look me in the eye again. I never liked talking about money. I grew up in a family where status meant everything, but never the kind that comes from effort. My father was the kind of man who judged people by the cars they drove, my mother, by the purses they carried. And me? I was the odd one out, the daughter who studied art instead of law, who preferred museums over fancy dinners, and who never seemed to make enough to be taken seriously. They thought I worked at some tiny little gallery, appraising old paintings for rich old ladies. My brother always said I should get a real job. I just smiled. Because what they didn't know was that this little gallery was one of the most respected art appraisal houses on the East Coast. I wasn't selling posters, I was mediating multi-million-dollar deals between collectors, museums, and investors. But I never told them. Maybe out of pride, maybe out of habit. I was used to being underestimated. Family gatherings were always torture. They competed for attention, my brother bragging about his promising investments, my sister-in-law flaunting designer clothes and resort vacations. And me, sitting quietly, listening to the same jokes disguised as humor. Oh, the artist of the family is here. Did you bring paint or pizza this time? I laughed. I always did. But that particular night, something inside me shifted. It was my mother's birthday. She loved extravagant parties, even when she couldn't afford them. This time, the dinner was at an expensive restaurant. I went because I'd run out of excuses. When I arrived, everyone was laughing loudly, posing for photos, pretending their lives were perfect. "You still work with paintings?" my father asked, with that half smirk. "Yes," I replied, sipping my wine. "You know, your brother's closing a huge deal. Maybe he could help you find something more stable." My brother laughed, clearly proud of himself. "I could see if there's an assistant position at my office. Something to start with, you know?" I wanted to laugh, but I couldn't. It was always the same thing. They still treated me like a kid, as if I hadn't grown, as if I still needed their help. But at that point, I already owned an apartment, paid in full, and had an art collection worth more than they could ever imagine. That night, my mother opened her gifts. Purses, jewelry, perfumes, the usual. Then she looked at me, expectant. "Didn't you bring anything?" I took a deep breath. I had, actually. A small painting, carefully wrapped. An original piece by a French painter she'd always said she loved, one she believed was far beyond her reach. When she opened it, she went silent. "Looks like a good copy," my father said. "But it's not the original, right?" "It is," I answered, holding his gaze. The silence that followed was almost comical. "Impossible," he said with a nervous laugh. "That artist sells for what, hundreds of thousands? Almost $1 million, at the last appraisal." My brother choked, trying to hide a laugh. "You're kidding." "I'm not. I personally handled the evaluation." They looked at me as if I had just spoken another language. My mother held the painting like it might explode in her hands. That's when I realized they didn't know me. They had no idea who I really was, what I had built, or how far I'd come in silence. And for the first time, I didn't feel the need to explain. I just let the silence do the talking. But dinner didn't end there. What happened next changed everything, not just the dynamic of my family, but my entire life. The silence in the restaurant was almost tangible. I could hear the clinking of silverware, the murmur of other diners, but it all felt distant, like we were in a bubble. My parents and brother stared at me, speechless. It was as if their entire world had shifted, and I was standing on new ground they couldn't even imagine existed. My mother finally broke the silence. "But, how did you get all this? You still work in that tiny little place?" I took a slow breath, feeling a quiet satisfaction. "No. Actually, I own one of the leading art appraisal companies in the country. I manage private collections, authenticate million-dollar pieces, and work with clients you wouldn't even believe exist. Their shock was visible. My father, usually so imposing, sank back in his chair. My brother swallowed hard, unable to process it. My mother gripped the painting tighter, as if it proved everything wrong. "That's impossible," she whispered. "It's not. It's real. And I built it all on my own, without asking anyone for help." My brother tried to laugh, but it came out nervous and hollow. "You never told us anything. How could you?" "I didn't tell you," I cut him off gently, "because you never cared to ask. I grew up invisible to you, always overshadowed by your expectations, always dismissed, always underestimated. And now that I've built something real, I have nothing left to prove." They were speechless. And I felt something I'd never felt before, absolute freedom. I didn't have to smile to hide the pain anymore. My silence, the same silence they mocked, had become my greatest power. Then my father asked the one question I knew would come. "So, how much do you have?" I smiled, not arrogantly, but with calm confidence. "More than you can imagine. More than you'll ever guess." Their faces fell. My brother, always the competitive one, was speechless. My parents looked shattered, not because I had money, but because they'd lost the illusion of control. So I gave them a glimpse of my world. I showed them my phone, a list of clients, transactions, contracts worth millions. Each number, each name was silent proof that I'd succeeded in my own way, in my own world. My mother trembled. My brother went pale. And I felt completely at peace. "Now do you understand why I never needed your approval?" No one answered. Because there was nothing left to say. That night, I realized my story wasn't about money at all. It was about self-worth. About autonomy. About the power of no longer needing to be seen to exist. Days later, my family went quiet, completely. No calls, no texts. Just silence. The kind that says, "We don't know how to handle this." Then one morning, I got a text from my mother. "We need to talk. Your aunt is coming for lunch on Sunday." Classic her, always needing an audience. When I arrived, she greeted me with a fake smile. My brother was already there, scrolling through his phone, pretending not to care. My aunt didn't waste a second. "So it's true," she asked. "You're a millionaire now, and you didn't tell anyone?" My father cleared his throat. "No one said millionaire. She's exaggerating, as usual." I stayed quiet. It wasn't anger I felt, it was clarity. They didn't want to understand. They wanted to rewrite the story, to put me back in the box I'd outgrown. "Actually," I said, "I didn't exaggerate. I just never thought you cared." My mother crossed her arms. "Of course we care. You could have been more open about it." I laughed softly. "Mom, when I went to art school, you said I was wasting my life. When I got my first gallery job, you asked if I needed help paying rent. When I opened my own company, you said it was too risky. Tell me, what part of that sounds open to you?" Her face stiffened. My brother huffed. "So now you think you're better than us?" The classic line. Every time they felt uncomfortable, they'd pull that card. Better than us. "No," I said calmly. "I just don't want to pretend to be less anymore." My father tried to change the subject, but it was too late. Then he dropped the final blow. "You should be grateful. You got where you are because of the education we gave you." For a moment, I was speechless. Then I laughed, not cruelly, just tired. "Education? You taught me to be afraid of dreaming, Dad. You taught me that stability matters more than passion. I succeeded despite you, not because of you." Silence. Heavy, uncomfortable. My brother stood up suddenly. "Congrats, then. You're rich and arrogant. I hope money keeps you warm." He stormed out. And me? I sat there, realizing what I felt wasn't victory, it was grief. Grief for the family I wished I had. The following weeks were full of subtle messages. Your brother's in debt, maybe you could help? Your mom needs money for the house renovation. But I knew better. If I gave in once, I'd lose everything I'd gained, including my peace. Then came the art charity auction, a huge event. I was presenting a rediscovered piece by a long-lost painter. Cameras, collectors, journalists, it was my world. And who showed up, uninvited? My brother. He approached me with a sweet tone that never meant anything good. You look amazing. I've been thinking about what happened. I want to apologize. For a second, I wanted to believe him. Until he added. And if you could, maybe lend me some money, just until I get back on track. That's when it hit me. They weren't shocked by my success. They were shocked they couldn't control it. I smiled. Of course I can help. But not with money. What do you mean? I can help you learn responsibility and how to live without expecting others to save you. He glared, but I didn't flinch. Because finally, I understood, it was never about being richer, it was about being free. Later that night, I took the stage. The auction was a success. The crowd applauded, but the loudest sound in my heart was peace. Afterward, I recorded a short video for my art channel. Never apologize for winning in silence, I said. Sometimes the loudest statement is simply letting your success speak for itself. Weeks passed. My family grew distant, and surprisingly, I was fine with it. For years, I'd fought for their approval. But when I stopped trying, I realized something. The loneliness of being authentic is lighter than the weight of pretending. Then one afternoon, my phone rang. My mother. Your aunt sent me the video from the auction, she said softly. You looked beautiful. And, did all that money really go to charity? Yes, I answered. You've always had a good heart, she said. I just didn't know how to see it. She never apologized. I didn't need her to. That small acknowledgement was enough. She started sending little messages afterward, photos of flowers, old recipes. A quiet bridge, slowly being rebuilt. As for my brother, one day, he showed up at my gallery. He looked tired, humbled. I came to apologize, he said simply. You were right. I always underestimated you. I smiled softly. Thank you. But I hold no grudges. I just learned to set boundaries. I'm trying to change, he said. Then start by becoming someone you'd be proud of, I told him. He nodded, and for the first time, I saw sincerity in his eyes. After he left, I stood in front of a painting, a self-portrait of a woman alone in a room, surrounded by her own work. Looking at it felt like looking at myself. That's when I finally understood. It was never about wealth. It was about reclaiming my voice. The applause, the contracts, the fame, all of it meant nothing compared to the quiet pride of being enough for myself. That evening, I went to the park where I used to sit as a student, dreaming of an impossible future. I watched the sunset, gold and crimson like a painting, and for the first time in years, I cried. Not from sadness, but from gratitude. Gratitude for having kept going, even when no one believed. Gratitude for having succeeded without hurting anyone. Gratitude for finally being at peace with who I am. I took a photo of the sky and posted it with a simple caption. Some people only see your worth once you stop begging to be seen. Keep going, quietly, if you must. Time reveals everything. And yes, that video, the story of my revelation, went viral. In the comments, hundreds of people shared their own stories. My family underestimated me too. I cried listening to this. Thank you for reminding me I'm not crazy for wanting to be myself. I read each one, heart full, and pinned my reply. The greatest wealth I ever earned was finally feeling like I'm enough. And if you're still listening, tell me. Have you ever had to reinvent yourself when no one believed in you? Share your story below.
And if you enjoyed this story and want to see more narratives like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss a new video. Leave a like if the story kept you hooked until the end, and share it with someone who also loves stories about family, relationships, revenge, business, and resilience. I'll see you in the next video with another incredible story. See you then.